It is Maud, the CEO for the GOWhee App. I'm connecting today because we have Leslie on board. She is going to help us navigate those little questions about the homeschooling, ins and out or up and downs that we all have in our head regarding starting that.
Sure. Well, first of all, thanks, Maud, so much for having me. And we are at Elementary Explorers on Instagram, Facebook, and on YouTube, actually. We make videos as well. And we've been homeschooling on the road full-time for 1 year. But prior to that, we've been kind of road schooling our kids for about 3 years in total as we started to travel more and more. My background is in education, so I was a public school teacher for 10 years before my son was 3, and I was looking for preschools, and I decided to do an in-home preschool. That's sort of where it all started. I just had my friends' kids, and we got together a couple days a week, and I just developed a preschool curriculum and played with them and really enjoyed that time. And then I had my second child and decided I wanted to stay home, and we sort of fell into homeschooling. So we've been homeschooling since the very beginning. My son is now 12 and he's a 6th grader, and then my daughter is 7.5. The half is very important to her. Second grader. So we've got 2nd and 6th grade.
Great. So obviously with your teaching background, it was maybe a little bit easier to get into it, but do you think a traditional mom that doesn't have any background in teaching can dive into that?
Yeah, absolutely. Matter of fact, I hear that a lot. Now I work as a homeschool evaluator in the state of Colorado because I'm still licensed, and I meet with a lot of families, a lot of moms who don't have any background in education. And I tell them, you know, my background may help me a little bit with being able to meet learning needs and curriculum needs for my own kids. But as far as teaching and the day-to-day ins and outs of homeschooling, I don't think it helped me at all to have a teaching license. It's a lot harder to be at home as a mom, balancing that with, you know, being a teacher of your kids. So I don't think it helped me a ton. I think parents who are passionate about teaching their kids and want them to love learning can totally homeschool their kids. And there's so many resources out there. It makes it really easy for families.
Awesome. Okay, that's good to know, because it can feel like overwhelming. But I get what you're saying. It's you have to switch your mom hat probably and put the teacher hat, which kind of probably it's a challenge on its own, I'm guessing.
Yeah, definitely.
Awesome. So the biggest question that I received from a lot of traveling family is regarding the schedule. Everybody wants to know, do you have a schedule when, you know, it comes to homeschooling while traveling?
Okay, so the short answer is yes. But really, the key to having a schedule is to be consistently flexible with your schedule, I think. Okay. So when we first started out and my kids were really little, scheduling was nearly impossible. And when I tried to be rigid with a schedule, it really worked against us. So I think what I've learned is I need to be consistently flexible with our schedule. And with traveling now, that's become even more important. So we do have sort of a routine now that we're on the road. What we sort of do is school year round. So even sometimes on the weekends, you'll find us doing school because we'll try and get in 4 or 5 days a week, but that might not always be Monday through Thursday or Friday. And we plan our schedule around our weeks. So based on where we are in the country, what we're doing, if we have a big field trip day, that might be our school for the day and we won't do our traditional book work. But in general, our schedule kind of looks like this. We'll get up in the morning, our kids will start their independent book work, which is their like math, language arts, history readings, that sort of thing. And I work with them sort of back and forth between the two of them, usually over breakfast. And that runs us 2 to 3.5 hours every morning. And then when we're finished with that, we'll go explore for the day. So that might be a museum or a hike or a family bike ride or, even just a play date or a pool time at the campground. And then in the evenings, we do our family Bible study and our reading.
So, if I'm hearing this well, you recommend to maybe have kind of like an idea of what you're going to do overall throughout the year, but to adjust based on what you're visiting, your kids' phase at the moment, and then to not over stress about keeping that tight schedule together. Is that correct?
Yeah,
Awesome.
yeah, absolutely.
So it does sounds a little bit more manageable actually than keeping 7 hours, behind the
Yeah.
table kind of learning
Well, and
experience.
the kids don't really consider their whole day school, but if you think about it,
Yeah.
it really is all school because we go to a lot of programs and classes at science museums or, the junior ranger-led programs are amazing. And so they're learning all day, but we're just sitting doing, school book work for a couple of hours.
Awesome. Yeah, that's the best way, I think. In terms of trial and error that you had to do, so you said you kind of try to stick to a schedule, but then realize, it was not necessarily working all the time. Is there anything else that you tried, you really thought it was going to work, but then kind of shift all around?
Yeah, at one point when my son was moving into first grade, I think I really thought, okay, I need to have, make sure we do every subject every day. And I want to make sure I'm spending, 30 minutes on math and 30 minutes on reading instruction. And I kind of overloaded myself with a lot of expectations and then overloaded him with a lot of extra work. And I really found that once I started to pull back and I let him, I don't want to say lead the way because I was still putting material in front of him, but kind of allow him to say how long he wanted to spend on each thing. And if he started to get frustrated, allow myself to just back off a little bit and give us some time. Things really started to, go more easy for both of us. And it was a lot more fun. And my whole goal with my kids, especially with early education, is just to get them to love to learn.
Mm-hmm.
And so I sort of kept that as my main goal. And then anytime I felt like we were straying away, whether it was because of a tight schedule or because of a curriculum that wasn't fitting, I would pull back and reevaluate it.
So you're talking about the curriculum often, and I just wanted to know if you had some maybe tools and tips that you want to kind of give to the viewers.
Yeah, I mean, as far as curriculum, I think I'm kind of guilty of probably trying almost every one that's out there.
Great, that's great for us.
I think the key is this for me. There's no perfect curriculum. So for moms out there that are really searching for, the best math curriculum or the best reading curriculum, the best advice I can give to them is to understand that there's no best curriculum. There's no perfect curriculum. Really what you have to do is match the way you like to teach with the way your child likes to learn.
Okay.
And then work within that to figure out what curriculum will be best for your family. So for us, we sort of landed on a couple of different curriculums that really worked well. We use Christian Light Education for a lot of our math and teaching textbooks for my son now that he's above third grade. And then our favorite subject for our electives, which we kind of use as geography, history, science, and art, is called Layers of Learning. And that's a family style program so that both my second grader and my sixth grader and I can work together on those 4 subjects. And they also work really well for traveling. So if someone's interested in a traveling homeschooling curriculum, Layers of Learning is one of the best that I've found. It's really flexible, so you can kind of pull out the units as you'd like. And so if we're in a region of the country, we might look to that curriculum and pull just the books that go with that unit and then use that to help us cover all the content guidelines for geography, history, science, and art as it relates to that area.
In terms of tools, you say you're buying books. Is it mainly what you guys use, or are you using any website maybe that for the?
Yep. So Layers of Learning, you can download the PDF. So
Awesome.
Instead of having the physical book, you can actually have a copy of it on your computer, and I really like that. It makes it easy for homeschooling on the road. And then there's a few other websites that we found that we like. OutSchool is one. They have kind of specific classes. So if your child has a certain interest, like mine, my son has an interest in engineering, my daughter's passionate about horses. So if we're not in an area where we're learning about that at the time and I want to even just get more information about it for them at a class that's targeted to their age group, that's a good resource for families. That's OutSchool. And then when my kids were in preschool and kindergarten, I loved the website Confessions of a Homeschooler.
Awesome.
That website and that mom does a great job of providing free resources that, you know, you can either just click and print or, you know, make up kind of your own copy based on what she said online. But that's a really good one too.
Yeah, so I think the main concern also that I got from a little poll was about, you know, for us that don't have any background in teaching, how do you keep your sanity, your, you know, you balance your me time and you just keep it together, because then you're becoming another hat, you know, above, you know, mom and wife, and, you know, so how do you do it?
Okay, I don't know that I do it all that well, but I certainly try. I think, you know, the first thing I would say to moms that I wish I could go back and say to myself maybe is to keep it simple. Because like I said, fostering a love for learning was sort of my number one goal. And when you go back and look really, especially at the younger ages when it's much more difficult to homeschool, I feel like, or if you have a lot of kids, it might be more difficult and you feel like you're spread thin. Just keeping it very simple. We do a lot of reading. If you really just keep it simple and say, I read today to my child, we enjoyed, you know, reading a story together, or we enjoyed looking at picture books at the library, and give yourself credit for spending that time with them one-on-one and truly teaching them, even though it doesn't seem like you're doing something fancy. So that would be my first tip, is keep it really simple. And then as my kids got older, the second tip I wish I could have given myself was, don't sign up for everything. It's easy to do. It's easy to be like, oh, that class looks really fun. And oh, my child loves art, so I should put him in this art. And oh, there's a pottery class that, you know, or whatever the case might be. We really found that if we just kept it to 1 or 2 classes per child based on their interest, or where I felt like I needed more assistance as a teacher during certain times, that was best. So that's tip number 2, don't sign up for every class. And then the last one was just going back to that fostering a love for learning, which I sort of mentioned at the beginning. Like, if your child loves to learn, then they will be successful. So whatever you can do to get them to love learning is what I felt like was key. And we started early with a curriculum called 5 in a Row. Okay. And it was a literature-based program. And it really allowed me to do that, to pull out the information, to have the stories at hand. And then it just gave us really simple things to do to help kind of foster a love for learning. As long as my kids love to learn, I know that they'll be successful with whatever they're going to do.
Awesome. And yeah, it's true. Even today, although mine is very little, I found that he does things better when it comes from himself. So that's true. If you just put them on the right path and giving them the basis to want for them to want to learn about something, they'll probably just do it, you know, most likely on their own, and do some research and everything later. So I can see that. Yeah. I saw their little face lit up also in your Ranger program. That was absolutely adorable. If you guys have time, just go check her profile. She posts all the pictures about how they get their badges every time they go to one of the Ranger program, and I kind of want to bring Luke to that now. So thanks for that. Yeah. I am very excited about it. So the last thing I wanted to ask, and that's probably because I want to add it on my list, is what are the best places you've been where you felt, either places or experience, you felt like, wow, this rocks for my homeschooling, you know, curriculum, or the wow places?
Oh man, wow places. There's so many of them. We love the national parks. So I don't think you can go wrong in the national parks with the ranger programs. We love those. There have been a few field trips that have really stood out. Like I remember whale watching off the coast of Massachusetts, or Williamsburg, Virginia, for just like that whole colonial American history piece was phenomenal. When my kids got to catch lobster in Maine and then eat them, that was amazing. There's just kind of little regional
Yeah.
activities that have been like, oh, this is so fun, but really those moments happen all the time. I really even more so love our teeny tiny cozy camper, dinette
Tiny.
because
Slush,
it
sofa, slush.
yeah, because it's our family place. We're
Mhm.
all together and it really feels special. And sometimes we'll school outside at the campground at the picnic table, and I love that. But I think like as far as favorite spot, it's the places we're together as a family because it that's really special to us is just having that family time. That's kind of why that was the motivation for all of this. I can't pick like a top favorite spot, just anywhere that has been fun and exciting.
But so it looks like the little dining table in the RV takes the spot, the number one.
Yeah,
You know,
it's silly, but I think it does.
I can understand that. I mean, it's not so much like we talk about. It's the experience out there to back basically the system of learning, but just the feeling that your kids have when you just spend the time to be with them and it's quiet and everybody's involved. I think that's what sticks, and that's probably why a lot of people are motivated to do the homeschooling system nowadays. I think you got me sold.
I
he's,
hope
he's,
so.
he's 3 year old right now. Sometimes I feel overwhelmed when it's the holidays and I have him like full time for 2 weeks and I have to scramble to find activities and everything. But I think that if you're looking at a different perspective and you're taking every opportunity to just make it a kind of like a teachable moment, it
Yes.
probably helps. And then of course if you travel full time, you have a limited amount of that at your doorstep, no matter if it's an RV or an Airbnb or anything really. So that should pretty much motivate everyone that was kind of on the fence, you think?
I hope so. I mean, and yourself included. Like, I don't think there's any better gift that you can give your children than just time with you. And you hit the nail on the head when you were saying teachable moments are key. Just take advantage of those moments with your children. It really doesn't matter if they're in school full time or if you're homeschooling or
That's
you're
right.
traveling or not. Just enjoy those moments and that time together because time goes by way too fast.
We do. So thank you so much, Leslie. You guys, you can follow her at Elementary Explorers. I'll just put the hashtag or the tag below, and feel free to tune in next time for another interview. Leslie, thank you so much. It was like full of resource. I think a lot of people are going to appreciate all your insights.
Well, thank you, Maud. Thank you so much. I enjoyed it.